The Battle of Bosworth, fought on August 22, 1485, was a pivotal moment in English history. This clash marked the end of the Wars of the Roses, a series of dynastic conflicts between the rival houses of Lancaster and York, and heralded the rise of the Tudor dynasty. At its core, the Battle of Bosworth was not just a mere military engagement. It symbolized the transition from medieval England to a more centralized, modern state. The significance of this battle lies in its profound impact on the English monarchy, governance, and society as a whole. The outcome of the battle brought an end to the Plantagenet rule, with the defeat and death of Richard III, the last Yorkist king. This victory paved the way for Henry Tudor, who became Henry VII, to establish the Tudor dynasty. Henry's reign initiated significant changes, such as the strengthening of the monarchy and the laying of foundations for the Renaissance and the Reformation in England. Under the Tudors, England witnessed increased stability and the consolidation of power within the monarchy, which helped curb the influence of errant nobility that had previously led to the prolonged civil strife. One real-world application of Bosworth's outcome is seen in the establishment of the Court of Star Chamber, which curtailed the unchecked power of the nobility, thereby fostering a centralized legal system. Additionally, the battle's result indirectly influenced the cultural renaissance during the Tudor period, leading to flourishing arts, literature, and exploration, as evidenced by the works of Shakespeare and the voyages of explorers like John Cabot. Support for the significance of the Battle of Bosworth can be found in the views of historians, who argue it was a catalyst for the modern state system in England. However, there are challenges and controversies surrounding the battle's historical portrayal. For instance, Richard III's villainous depiction, popularized by Shakespeare, has been contested by some historians who argue for a more nuanced understanding of his reign and policies. The significance of the Battle of Bosworth connects to other aspects of English evolution, such as the eventual religious transformation under Henry VIII and Elizabeth I's consolidation of power. Thus, the battle did not merely decide a king. It set the stage for the seismic shifts in socio-political and religious structures that defined England's future. By understanding the Battle of Bosworth, one gains crucial insights into the forces that shaped the transition from medieval feudalism to a nascent modern statehood, making it a cornerstone event in the annals of English history. The Battle of Bosworth, fought on August 22, 1485, marked the decisive end of the Wars of the Roses, a series of civil wars for control of the English throne between the houses of Lancaster and York. This epical battle concluded with the defeat of King Richard III by Henry Tudor, who subsequently became King Henry VII. The Wars of the Roses had ravaged England for decades, causing significant bloodshed and instability. The battle's outcome effectively ended the dynastic struggle, leading to the establishment of the Tudor dynasty, which began a new era of relative peace and prosperity in England. The significance of the end of the Wars of the Roses cannot be overstated. It marked the unification of England under one monarch, Henry VII, who married Elizabeth of York, thus symbolically and literally uniting the feuding factions. This union laid the foundation for a more stable government and a centralized monarchy. Henry's reign initiated substantial political, social, and economic changes that paved the way for the English Renaissance and the modern state of England. A prime example of the significance of Bosworth can be seen in the political reforms initiated by the Tudors. Henry VII's establishment of the Star Chamber helped curb the power of the nobility, reducing the likelihood of future rebellions and increasing the authority of the crown. Additionally, the marriage alliance with Spain, via the marriage of Henry VII's son, Arthur, to Catherine of Aragon, signified England's enhanced stature on the European stage, setting the stage for future international diplomacy. While many view the victory at Bosworth as a turning point for England, some historians argue that it wasn't an instant panacea. The transition from civil war to stability wasn't immediate and involved significant challenges. Henry VII faced several rebellions early in his reign, indicating that while Bosworth ended one phase of conflict, the new regime struggled with its own legitimacy issues. The end of the Wars of the Roses also connects to broader cultural and economic changes. The Tudor period saw the rise of merchant classes and the beginning of English explorations overseas, setting the groundwork for England's later colonial expansions. In essence, the battle not only ended a civil war, but also catalyzed transformations that affected governance, international relations, and social hierarchies, reshaping England's trajectory and global influence. This shift highlights the interconnectedness of military conflict and long-term societal evolution. The rise of the Tudor dynasty marks a pivotal shift in English history, emerging directly from the Battle of Bosworth in 1485. This decisive conflict ended the tumultuous Wars of the Roses as Henry Tudor's forces defeated King Richard III, effectively ending the Plantagenet line. Henry Tudor became King Henry VII, establishing the Tudor dynasty, a family that would rule England for over a century. This transition was not merely a change in leadership, but an era that redefined the trajectory of the nation economically, politically, and culturally. The significance of the rise of the Tudor dynasty is profound. First, it brought relative stability to a kingdom ravaged by civil war. Henry VII's marriage to Elizabeth of York symbolically united the feuding houses of Lancaster and York, legitimizing his claim and promoting national unity. The Tudors reinforced monarchical power, laying the groundwork for the centralized state that England would become, thus shaping the future governance of the nation. One notable example of the Tudors' lasting impact is the establishment of the Church of England under Henry VIII, which severed ties with the Roman Catholic Church. This not only altered religious practice, but also had sweeping effects on English society and culture. Another example is the flourishing of the English Renaissance during Elizabeth I's reign, which was characterized by developments in literature, exploration, and the arts, fostering a period of unprecedented growth and innovation. While many historians view the consolidation of power under the Tudors as a necessary step towards modern statehood, there are opposing perspectives. Critics argue that the dynasty's centralization efforts often led to tyranny and authoritarian rule, citing Henry VIII's heavy-handed tactics and Elizabeth I's use of the Star Chamber as mechanisms of control that stifled opposition. Additionally, the rise of the Tudors indirectly influenced England's future colonial expansions and economic transformations, including the establishment of trade routes and the beginnings of the British Empire. However, this expansionist vision also laid the groundwork for future conflicts and controversies regarding imperialism and its global implications. Ultimately, the rise of the Tudor dynasty serves as a cornerstone in England's historical narrative. By stabilizing the nation after years of internal strife, the Tudors set the stage for England's emergence as a significant power in Europe and the wider world. The events and policies of this era continue to resonate, underscoring the lasting impact of the Battle of Bosworth on the English monarchy and beyond. The Battle of Bosworth, fought in 1485, marked a pivotal moment in English history, ushering in a significant shift in monarchical power and governance. This shift can be understood as the transition from the medieval feudal system, characterized by a decentralized power structure dominated by noble families, to a more centralized form of governance under a strong monarchy. This change set the foundation for modern England's political landscape by reducing the power of the nobility and establishing a more unified national government. The significance of this shift is profound. By ending the Wars of the Roses and establishing the Tudor dynasty, the battle not only brought stability to a war-torn nation, but also marked the beginning of centralized royal authority. Henry VII's reign emphasized the power of the monarchy, and reduced the influence of feudal lords, ensuring that the throne was less reliant on the fluctuating alliances of noble families. This centralization laid the groundwork for a more cohesive and powerful state, capable of exerting greater control over its territories and subjects. One example of this shift is Henry VII's use of financial policies to weaken the nobility. He implemented bonds and recognizances, which were essentially fines that nobles had to pay as a form of insurance against rebellion. These policies effectively curtailed noble power and influence by keeping them financially dependent on the crown. Another example is the establishment of the Court of Star Chamber, which allowed the king to exercise legal authority directly, bypassing traditional feudal courts. This institution not only increased royal authority, but also provided a means to enforce the king's laws more effectively. Supporters of this centralized governance argue that it was necessary for the development of a stable and prosperous England. By consolidating power within the monarchy, Henry VII was able to create a more consistent and unified policy approach, which facilitated economic growth and international diplomacy. However, there are challenges and controversies associated with this centralization of power. Critics argue that it reduced the traditional checks and balances provided by the nobility, potentially leading to autocratic rule. Additionally, it could be seen as a loss of local autonomy and influence, which some regional leaders resented. This shift in monarchical power and governance connects to other aspects of the Battle of Bosworth by highlighting the broader social and political transformations that the conflict catalyzed. It paved the way for the Tudor dynasty's influence, which continued to shape English society and governance well into the 16th century, influencing everything from legal reforms to economic policies.